Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel called Living in Hayward, Wisconsin, where we talk about all things real estate related and about living in Hayward. I'm Audrey Miller. I'm the broker owner of Northwest Wisconsin Realty Team, located right in downtown Hayward. And today we're going to talk about the Chippewa Flowage. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history, show you some video footage of the Chippewa Flowage and being out there on a boat, and just kind of fill you in on the scoop on the Chippewa Flowage. So follow along for some interesting and informative information if the Chippewa Flowage is a lake that you've been considering. So I'm going to talk just a bit about the history of the Chippewa Flowage first, just to give you an idea, because it's a very fascinating history. In fact, there's a whole book that is out by a gentleman named John Detloff. He is a historian and also the owner of the Indian Trail Resort on the Chippewa Flowage and has been there for many years. And he just came out last year with a book on the Chippewa Flowage history, the creation of the Chippewa Flowage, the history probably 100 or 200 years prior to that. And it is a fascinating read. So if you get a chance to check out John Detloff's books, he's got several others, but this one that he just came out with last year, and honestly, the title is escaping me right now, but if you Google John Detloff, you will find this book that just was printed last year, which was on the 100th anniversary of the Chippewa Flowage. So if you like history, it's quite informative and quite interesting. So this area of Wisconsin was settled by Native Americans, fur trappers, loggers a little bit later, but back in probably the 1600s. However, the area around the Chippewa Flowage and the village of Post, which was originally another name that I cannot pronounce, a Native American name. The village of Post was created in the mid to late 1800s. And it got to be quite a robust little village there, lots of trade happening. You know, it's located close to the mouth of the Chippewa rivers, the East and the West Fork. So it was in a great location. The reason this is so big of a part of the history is because when they created the Chippewa Flowage, the town of Post was flooded. So the Chippewa Flowage, what is today a man-made dam-controlled flowage, was originally a bunch of lakes and rivers. And then the power company and other people got involved and decided to flood it and create a huge flowage, basically connecting all those rivers and lakes into one 15 to 17,000 acre body of water, which is what we know today as the Chippewa Flowage. But in that process, the town of Post actually was completely submerged. So those folks had some warning ahead of time when this started, they started doing the survey and deciding that they were going to do this project. People had a chance to disassemble houses and move out, and they created a new town called New Post, which is still there to this day. It's along Highway CC, kind of halfway between Highway B and Highway E off of CC, and it's called New Post, and it's still there to this day, although I think kind of a remnant of what it was back in the day. So then in 1922, the Winter Dam was built. That was a huge project because obviously if you're going to create a flowage, you have to have a way to control the output of the body of water. So the Winter Dam by Winter, Wisconsin was constructed starting in 1922, and it took them about 15 months and cost at that time, I'm sure it was a huge sum of money, about $1.1 million to build that dam, which is still in use to this day. And then in 1923 is when they actually started doing the flooding, or basically closed the dam. And as the rivers ran into the area, they kept filling up and filling up. And some of the people of Post really didn't believe the water was going to rise that quick. They kind of were maybe in denial or not wanting to move, which is understandable. So there's actually some photos of people moving out of their houses in Post on rafts with like their furnishings and household goods on the raft. This is quite a traumatic experience for them, I would think. It kind of, as much as I love the Chippewa Flowage today, some of this history is a little sad, I guess, for the people that were involved at the time. So by the end of 1923, the Chippewa Flowage was to what we call full pool, and the town of Post was completely submerged along with all the trees that had been there. And when you're on the flowage these days, you see these little hills or, islands. Basically, that is just the highest peaks of the original topography, and it's quite interesting because if you're familiar with the flowage, one of the things you'll know about it is that they drain it down every winter, and this is something that can be very confusing to people if they see property in the wintertime and the water is low and there's all this shoreline that's kind of like exposed, whether sandy or mucky, they drain it down every winter, partially for weed control and maybe some other reasons. But they'll drain it down as much as 6 to 10 feet. So what you see in the wintertime on the Chippewa Flowage is entirely different than what you see in the summertime. And that's something that sometimes buyers, aren't familiar with or don't understand. But that's also why there's lots of stumps in the Chippewa Flowage, some old trees you'll see still standing there, kind of petrified wood. And it's a very, very unique body of water that I very much enjoy. And then I'll talk a little bit about the modern day Chippewa Flowage. But one other piece of history, as early as 1925, resorts started popping up on the Chippewa Flowage. The Flowage has long been known for its great fishing. It has such a, people will say, like a feel of Little Canada, because a lot of the shoreline is owned by XL Energy, the Lakota tribe, and the state of Wisconsin. So there is a ton of undeveloped shoreline on the Chippewa Flowage, which makes it very unique compared to any other lake in the area. Plus, it's by far the largest lake, ending up being about 3 times bigger than Lakota, which is the second largest lake in the Sawyer and Washburn County areas. So as far as the Chippewa Flowage today, it is my favorite lake in the area for the reason of the size and all of the bars and restaurants that are on the Chippewa Flowage. So what my husband and I like to do, and you can find me on a boat anytime I'm not working and it's nice out, basically, in the summertime. I work a lot of weekends, I work a lot of nights, and that's completely fine. But if it's Sunday and I don't have any showings or work that I need to do away from the house, you'll find me out on the boat. It is my favorite summertime activity because it is so relaxing. And I feel like the Chippewa Flowage actually makes it more relaxing because it's not crowded, it's not busy, and it has all this undeveloped shoreline. I've been coming to the Chippewa Flowage for about 5 or 6 years, and now I actually live on the Chippewa Flowage. My husband's been coming here for about 15 or 20 years, so he has a lot more history, and he does tell me that it's gotten a lot more busy over the last number of years. And there is a part of me when I'm putting out this video and talking about the positives of the Chippewa Flowage, which I love so much, in a way it's like, do you want more people to come to your sanctuary? But I know the word is out. The Chippewa Flowage has gotten to be much more popular even in the last 5 years, and there's a good reason for it. So everyone is welcome, but if you with that, there's just going to be a little less peace and quiet maybe. But the thing about the Chippewa Flowage is you can always find these little nooks and bays and places that are out of the way if you want to just kind of sit and fish, or if you want to turn off your pontoon boat and just hang out. So that's what's really cool. Our main activity that we like to do on the Chippewa Flowage is boating at about 3 miles an hour. So, on our pontoon. So that's why this lake is perfect. It doesn't have the same water clarity as you'll find on the spring-fed lakes, but the water is not dirty. It's just got the tannins in the water, so it's got that brownish tinge to it, and you may have more mucky bottom in places than you would on some of the lakes like Grindstone, Lakota, Round Lake, etc. But it's not dirty water. There's lots of sandbars, lots of places to swim. I'm not a fisherman, and so I can't talk a lot about the fishing, but I know that it is known for being really great fishing. Also kind of hard to fish because it's so huge and everything looks like it would be good fish cover, but you kind of got to know your way around. There are lots of guides for fishing that work on the Flowage, and so maybe hire one of them to take you around a time or two to give you a feel for the fishing on the Flowage if you're not adventuresome enough to just try it on your own. You also need to be aware, if you're out there for the first or second time and you've got a really nice boat with a nice motor, there are shallow spots, there are places where there's stumps. There's been many a prop taken out on the Chippewa Flowage. So when you're first out there, get a good depth finder or GPS system as well, because it's easy to get lost there. And then just go slow, learn your way around slowly, find places that you're comfortable with, and then continue to explore from there. It truly is a lake that you can explore for years and feel like you've never really seen it all. There are 15 bars and restaurants currently on the Chippewa Flowage, and there's a few more resorts in addition to that don't have a restaurant and bar. And these are scattered all over the Flowage, so you don't have to go far to get to a restaurant or bar when you're out boating, if that's something that you like to do. I could name them off, but I think you could look online and see. There's also really good maps of the Chippewa Flowage and places like the Landing. I'm sure lots of the other bars and restaurants actually have a really nice, it's almost like a plastic map that won't get, if you have it out in the weather, it'll be fine. And that shows lots of bars and restaurants, places you can get gas, points of interest. I think it even has some fishing information on there, like where good cribs are, places that are, good spots for fishing. And it has some markings where there's shallow water and all of that. But with the way the water water level fluctuates, sometimes you can be out there in early spring when it's full, and then later in the year the water's down a foot or two, and you will be going places that you've gone before just fine, and now you have, you know, stumps sticking up or more danger to your motor. That's just kind of the nature of the Chippewa Flowage. What I find is that the people who have been on the Flowage and who love it don't want to be on any other lake. But the people who aren't familiar with it or like the clearer, bluer water don't have the same attraction to the Chippewa Flowage. So it's kind of a mixed thing. It's like either you love it or maybe you're kind of like a little bit of, I'll use the word snob about the water clarity and the bottom, you know, being a little more mucky in places on the Chippewa Flowage. So it's all personal preference. If you haven't watched my video called What Lake Should I Buy Property On in Hayward, that gives a more extensive overview of the various lakes, but this is an in-depth on the Chippewa Flowage in particular. And I'll just give you a rundown of some of my favorite bars and restaurants on the Chippewa Flowage. Chippewa Pines is a favorite because they do live music in the summertime, and they've got this outdoor stage and a little tiki bar. And just the way the whole setup is there, it's really awesome. So that's probably my personal favorite. In addition to that, I really like the landing. They have very nice outdoor seating. They have gas pumps there. They have a nice place to sit outside. The landing is probably one of the most well-known because it's right along Highway CC at the bridge where the east and west side of the Chippewa Flowage join up. And in addition to that, I think Shady Nook is a cool place to visit. It's a small bar, quaint setting, kind of way down out of the way, but I think that's a really, really great spot to visit as well. So those are probably my three favorites, but I really like all of them and have been to every single one of them, some of them more often than others. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is the camping on the Chippewa Flowage. And within this video somewhere, there's going to be some footage of a campsite. So there are a bunch of campsites, mostly on the west side, that are first come, first serve. There's like Little Banana, there's Pine Island, there is, and honestly, there's some on the east side as well, like Darrow, Dolly. Again, you can find these on a good Chippewa Flowage map, but some of them are first come, first serve. The maximum stay is 10 days, and it's very hard to actually get one of those islands if you're coming on a weekend in the summertime. So you kind of have to like be around the area and maybe try to see if you can get one or not. But then there are some that are reservable that are mostly over on the east side, and they're managed by the Lakota tribe. Those you can reserve for $30 some per night. And that way you know you have an island if you want to come out camping. These islands have a fire pit. There's usually firewood that is stocked there by the DNR. They have a picnic table and they have a pit toilet, and then space to set up tents. It's such a fun experience to bring your boat out to the Chippewa Flowage, get an island for a weekend or a week, and camp, go out on the boat in the day, come back and have your dinner, get up in the morning and put your coffee on the percolator over the fire and have eggs and bacon and look out at the beautiful water. And it is an experience that I would highly recommend. I've done it numerous times. Rain can definitely impact the fun of a trip like that, but you make the best of it if that happens. So anyway, again, I'm Audrey Miller with Northwest Wisconsin Realty Team. I hope you enjoyed this information on the Chippewa Flowage. If you have any questions about the Chippewa Flowage, about the area, any interest in buying or selling in this area, I cover Hayward in about 45 minutes in any direction. I'd be happy to help. Also, always love to hear from you. So if you want to comment on maybe experience you had on the Chippewa Flowage or something about the area, I would welcome that. Or feel free to like or share my channel as well. And thank you for joining today. And I will continue to provide more information on the Hayward area, and I hope you can learn something from it.